Hello and welcome to this week's Football Hipsters podcast. I am your host, Kris, and a busy European action-packed weekend has just been put in front of us, and we have a lot to talk about. Bundesliga is back, and of course, SerieA, Liga and LaLiga will complete our lineup, as well as a hipster's choice, of course. So much to get through. Thank you for tuning in as usual. We are going to kick off this week's podcast in John's neck of the woods. So without further ado, we start our roundup in Italy with this week's SerieA. Right. Good evening, John, first of all. I didn't really introduce you, did I? It's very rude of me.
It's quite all right. It's fine.
I should probably introduce Drew as well, shouldn't I? Hi, Drew.
I'm used to it.
Sorry.
It's fine.
Done this podcast for how long? About a year and a half, and this is the first time I've ever forgot to introduce people. Anyway, we're all here. It's all good. It's all happy. John, you're up first then. So we're going to keep our shows a little bit like we did before Christmas. We're a little bit out of practice, really, aren't we? But we're just going to whip through the results and just pick out some talking points from various different games and have a bit of a free for all. So. I have to, before we go into the weekend's action, just have to very quickly mention the game last week, which I think we weren't recording. It was the week before, wasn't it? That Torino-Milan game. That was a bit fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think we did mention it on the sort of resumption, but we didn't really go into detail in it. But yeah, it was a great game. 2-2. Torino looked like they were going to comfortably win the game, and then Milan fought back into it, despite Joe Hart doing his best. To try and keep him in it, still having a very good season there. But yeah, really, really cracking game, and just a really good display of all the young Italian talent that's sort of coming through and going to be in the national team for many years to come.
Yeah, really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed watching that. But it's actually Milan we're going to start with because as our good friend Max, who was at the game, who tweeted a fantastic video that he sent us, one of our listeners, it was Milan against Napoli was obviously the standout fixture of the weekend, which was the second game of the Saturday after Fiorentina had won 3-0 earlier on in the day against Chievo. Napoli running out 2-1 winners. With it be fair to say the only surprise about this game was that there weren't more goals because Napoli took a flying start, 2 up in 9 minutes.
Yeah, Napoli can just start so quickly. I felt a little bit sorry for Milan because despite them getting a goal back, they weren't really in the game that much. They had a lot of problems in defence, players out injured, suspensions, things like that. And when you're playing against a Napoli team that's in the form that they are at the moment, you're just not really going to stand a chance. The goal in particular from Insigne, really like just such a quick move, just Callejon picking it up and then just firing almost a blind pass, across the Milan defence because he knew Insigne was going to be on the other wing and getting on the end of it, and a really good finish that even Donnarumma, he got the hand to it and couldn't stop from going in. And yeah, just Napoli, probably despite being, they're 4 points behind Juve at the moment and Juve got the game in hand, which even if they lost, I know 4 points isn't a huge gap, but at this point in the season it might be a little bit too much to claw back. It is a possibility still there, but I still think just that one or two games where they ended up with a draw and just couldn't quite kill it off when they were trying to adapt to Milik not being in the team has been the one thing that really hurt their title chance.
Yeah, it was a hell of a hit from Insigne, wasn't it? That first. Some people said Donnarumma could have done better, but I just thought it was like one of those pure strikes.
Yeah.
As soon as he hit it.
I mean, he did get his hand on it, but I've seen Donnarumma make some amazing saves, and I'm not sure he could do much more about it. It struck so well, you couldn't get his hand any stronger. It just sort of bent past it, didn't it?
Yeah, true. I want to ask Drew very quickly, actually, on this one. Now, Drew, there's obviously Milik is due to come back very soon for Napoli, but would you be dropping Dries Mertens? Because I know you're sort of a bit used to what he can do at this level as well, and he looks on fire at the moment, even though he didn't score in this game. He's leading that line really well. Oh, Drew's disappeared. Where's Drew gone? Oh, he's grabbing a coffee. Oh dear, John, you can answer that question.
That's fine. Milik is. Sorry, I'll jump here for Drew there. He's going to take a while to come back to full fitness because obviously it was a long time he had out with that injury and he wasn't able to do any training. So on the form they're on right now, I don't think you really want to change it too much. I'm sure he'll slowly get, work back into the team. They also brought in Pavarotti as well from Genoa, who's another option up front now. And I think, although Mertens has done exceptionally well up front, he's still best placed out wide, and it just lets them rotate a little bit more as they ease those two centre forwards back into the team.
Yeah, but he'd have a big part to play second half of the season, that's for sure, if he can prove his fitness. And have to mention a lovely little take from Juraj Kucka, of course, my little mate. Good result that for Napoli, of course, away in San Siro, and as we say, Fiorentina earlier on in the day. Goals. Another goal for baby Chiesa, as I like to call him.
Yes, yeah, I keep calling him Enrico Chiesa, and it's not.
It's Federico, isn't it?
It's Federico Chiesa, yeah.
That's close enough. Yeah, I can see why.
There's quite a funny, I think it was on BT Sport, they were talking about how Fiorentina obviously didn't start the season very well and they've come back into it now, and there's kind of like a West Midlands revival with like Carlos Sanchez, Boya Vallejo, Marcos Alonso was obviously there previously, Kalinic, all players that had done basically nothing in the Premier League, all in the same region, all ended up at Fiorentina and now wanted by clubs all over Europe.
Yeah, they're all having a lovely time, aren't they? Yeah, good result that for Fiorentina away from home, albeit against a Chievo side that are out of form. That's 4 straight defeats for them. Obviously, the Sunday fixtures, the full fixture list: Juve 2, Lazio 0 opened up the day. An early kickoff, for Juventus, which is not always what you see. 2-0 victory for them. 2 questions, because one, of course, we have to address the game. Dybala and Higuain with the goals to win the game fairly comfortably, it has to be said. So what sort of shape do you think Juve are in after questions were asked recently? And we didn't answer this before on the podcast last week. So what do you make of the new logo?
Well, to talk about the logo first, when I first saw it, I really didn't like it at all. I thought it was awful, and the fact that it took a year to design it, I just didn't understand how you could pay someone that much money. But the more I see it, and I've seen it on the kit that's going to be used for next season, and the whole rebrand and the way that Juventus presented it, the more and more I see it, I like it more. I think it's a very clever marketing tool. It's mainly for commercial reasons, basically, because in SerieA they're clearly the highest earners. They've already got the new stadium, which they own, whereas obviously most teams rent their stadiums from the council. So they reduced the size of the stadium, but made sure they always sell it out, and they get high ticket, high gate from that. They're getting better and better commercial deals that no other Italian club can get, and this whole rebrand is just another way to make them more appealing, not just to Italian fans, but fans all around the world, basically. And I actually think it's a really clever move, because they're at the point now where they need to be competing commercially with the likes of Barcelona, Real Madrid. Sort of that's their next target, because they've surpassed Italy in terms of revenue now. So that for me, I think it's a really smart move. I know some people don't like it, but they've had, I think, something like 12, 13 different badges in their history. There was even one of their crests was actually just the letter J on their away shirts. I think that was like for one season in the 50s. So it's not the first time they've used it. I don't know if Drew has any views on the new badge or anything, what he thinks.
Oh, about you? Oh God, it's awful. I mean, I don't know. If you look throughout sports, not just football, I think a lot of professional sports clubs are looking to make their logos more modern, simplistic, maybe a little bit easier for, marketing in regards to the digital realm. Maybe that would be the reason people want things to be more streamlined, cleaner, if you will. But I don't know, for me, it's always I was angry when Arsenal changed their badge from, the old one to what we have now. And I just always felt that sometimes tradition needs to be kept, and, clubs like to use their logo as a way of telling fans that they're moving forward. Might be a new era for the club in some respect, but sometimes I feel like the badge is one of those things where maybe you shouldn't change at all. Where that's one of the things you can hold on to keep the connection between the history of the club and the club moving forward with that same vision in mind. For you know what I'm trying to say. So yeah. I personally I hate it. It looks like someone took like a huge magic marker and just drew 2 lines and that was it. Eureka! But for me, I think they could have done better. If they want to move forward with their image, I think that they could have done a bit better job, just for me personally.
Yeah, I get that.
I see both sides. Yeah, I see both sides. I mean, the marketing thing is clever and it's clearly emoji friendly, and it's definitely a marketing ploy. But then at the same time, we obviously all support a club that changed their badge. It's one of those. Initially, it's outrage, and then the season later, everyone's buying a shirt. No one cares. So I think it's a lot of hot air. Nobody has ever supported a club just purely for the badge. And I don't mean that metaphorically. I mean literally. I just think it's all a little bit. Just think it's all a little bit necessary, really. I do understand the simplicity. I think if you look at all the new badges, particularly of the historic clubs that have upgraded their badges, they never make them more complicated, do they? They always simplify them. Yeah. So I think that's just the way football's going. And as I say, give it a short period of time. I really don't think it's going to be a big deal. But
it's funny as well. The letter J is basically not used in Italian at all. Like Juventus is pretty much the only.
Makes it even better, doesn't it?
Yeah, so it's a nice way of standing out. As for the game itself, Juve came back from the Fiorentina defeat, and they proved everyone wrong, and they did it with a really attacking lineup as well. Dybala and Higuain got the 2 goals. Dybala's goal was lovely, very early on, nice knockdown from Mandzukic, who was also on the pitch, as was Pjanic and Cuadrado. Essentially, I mean, Pjanic has basically been playing as a number 10 all season for Juve, and the rest of those players are all really forwards to one degree or another. So they really went for it, and Lazio just really weren't at it at all. They just couldn't keep up with them. And Juve, they got the 2 goals and they were comfortable. They could have got a few more. Lazio didn't really trouble them. And you just think it goes to show how strong they are at home, but also how they respond to defeats. I mean, there was a few Lazio players saying, Juventus losing to Fiorentina is the worst thing possible that could happen before you play them, because it's you who's going to get the retribution back.
It's a weird one, isn't it? Because I really thought Lazio would push them all the way in this game, but they just never really. They threatened a little bit, and it didn't really happen. It's a shame, but still, it's good to see Lazio challenging at the very least. But that was the big result of the Sunday games early on. Genoa and Crotone drawing 2-2 there. Not a huge amount to talk of, apart from not only did Baby Chiesa score, but so did Baby Simeone. He got another goal for Genoa.
Good point for Crotone as well. I don't think it's going to be enough to save them, but. Decent. Nice for them to get another point on the board at least.
Yeah, especially away from home. Christ, they really are cut off, aren't they? I never realised it was quite as many points. We'll come on to that in a second. I also saw Inter absolutely stink up the joint against Palermo. Who was it? Palermo. Yes, yeah. Palermo were. They worked really hard and they pressed really hard, but it just wasn't a very good game. And really, Inter should have been. I personally thought Inter should have been out of sight a long time before they were. But João Mario with the winning goal there for Inter, who have just quietly gone on a bit of a run. Are you a little bit more optimistic? We should say there's 2 red cards in this game as well. Gazzi and Ansaldi, 1 apiece for 2 bookable offences. But yeah, are you kind of a little bit more positive about Inter at the moment?
Yeah, there's 6 wins in a row now in the league for Pioli. I think the stats are, I could be wrong, but since he took charge of Inter, if the season had started then Inter would be top, even above Juve. Which is
Don't do it to yourself.
Yeah, I know, which is kind of ridiculous to think about. They haven't always played the greatest football. I think they are decidedly better at home than they are away, which is not surprising. That's kind of normal. They're a lot more pragmatic in away games than they are at home, but they're getting results. And tactically, I think Pioli's getting the best out of them. The issue is when he has to rotate a little bit and he hasn't got his exact starting 11 that he really wants. I'm not sure he's as convinced by some of the players. But all the talk around the club is, they've got a lot more money they want to spend. They're talking about competing for players that Juventus are trying to sign, like Corentin Tolisso. So the new owners are really serious about putting Inter back at the top of SerieA, and they want the Champions League again. If they can get the Champions League this season, by the end of this season, which at the moment there's an outside chance with the run they're on, it's looking good. They've got Juve coming up in, I think it's 2 games time. The Derby d'Italia, so that'll be a real test to see how far they've come. So obviously they beat them earlier in the season, like probably one of the best performances I've seen from Inter, but going to the J Stadium is a very different proposition.
Yes, that will separate the men from the boys. And good result nevertheless. Was as bad as Palermo were. It was an absolutely soaking wet pitch, and just all very sort of scrappy towards the end. Lots of sort of handbags and God knows what going on in that game as well. So good result that for Inter. Good result for SAS as well. 3-1 victory over Pescara. Just a quick word for Matri, who's still got it. 2 goals.
Yeah. Old man Matri still got it. He's one of his goals, I think it was the second one. Some people calling it a cross. I think he intended it, but sort of a lob, no look over the keeper from a very tight angle. A couple of people saying he was just trying to knock it back into the back post, but it went in, and I think he meant it. Also a goal for your mate Barbek as well on loan at Pescara.
Yes, Jean-Christophe Barbek. Who's he's a good little centre forward, I think. I don't think it'll be enough to keep Pescara in the division, but good to see him on the score sheet. A talented player indeed. Bologna beating Torino 2-0. Just briefly on that one, is that a bit of a turn up?
Not really. I think 6 of Torino's 7 losses this season have all been away from home. Defensively, they are a bit weak. And they had no Belotti for this game as well, so the talisman was missing up front. They did create chances, which didn't take them, and Bologna, who had been on a bit of a bad run, needed a result, and they bounced back in this one. I think Torino, realistically, they've got to have defensive reinforcements coming at some point, because that is the one area they're weak in, and their away performances aren't good enough this season. But they've still got an outside chance for the Europa League. It's so contested, that area, sort of positions in the table at the moment. There's so many good teams there. It's going to be really tough fighting it out.
Yeah, true, and no luck for Joe Hart. I think we have to mention him every single podcast.
He had a very good game as well. None of the goals were his fault. He made some cracking saves. It could have been quite a few more. And there's apparently even more clubs queuing up now to try and sign him. So.
Yeah, I hear as much. Yeah, both goals from Shimai. He's the former Napoli man, isn't it? I think.
Yep.
You're right saying, yeah. Good day for him at the office. And also a good day at the office if you're an Empoli fan, with a 1-0 victory over Udinese, which steers them sort of clear of any immediate danger. Do you sort of think they'll be all right? I mean, Meccanizzi got the 82nd minute winner. That gives them an 11-point cushion from Crotone, Palermo and Pescara, who seem to be the 3 that are doomed already. Any way at all you can see Empoli sort of being in trouble still? Because that's a hell of a gap, isn't it?
No, I think they're solid enough at home that they'll pick up more points against other teams around them, and I think that's the biggest gap since they introduced the 3 points for a win. That the bottom 3 has been adrift. I think those bottom 3 are basically gone now, and Empoli should be safe. Yeah,
tough times. Good win for Atalanta as well, getting them sorted back on track. They've had a couple of wobbles recently, but nothing too dramatic, considering they are 6th in the table. It's only 1 defeat in the last 5, so not too much of a problem there. And finally, Roma beating Cagliari by 1-0 in the evening kickoff on Sunday. Edin Dzeko with the winner. Is the only surprise in this game that there wasn't more goals?
Yeah, Roma weren't at their best. They had to work a little bit harder for it than maybe they expected. Wasn't quite the performance that you would expect to see from them, but they're doing what they haven't done in previous seasons, where if they don't turn up quite right, they're still getting the 3 points. They're the team closest to Juve and the ones looking most likely to give them a challenge. And Dzeko, again, I think 14 goals now this season. One of the top goal scorers in Europe, so he's doing really, really well.
Yeah, he's still got it. Where are we looking now table-wise with regards to after the weekend results? Whereabouts do we leave the table?
Yeah, so Juve is still top on 48 points. They have a game in hand over most of the guys below them. Roma second on 47, Napoli just behind on 44, Lazio on 40. Inter crept up to fifth now on 39 points, so they're not far away from the Champions League spots. Atalanta just behind them on 38, Milan on 37. They've got a game in hand, so they can jump up. I think they can go, with a big enough victory, they could go up to just above Lazio. Fiorentina just behind them, Torino and Bologna make up the top 10, and yeah, as we've been saying for a couple of weeks now, the bottom three: Pescara, Palermo, Crotone. 9 points for Pescara and 10 points apiece for Palermo and Crotone. I think they're all three are just gone now. I really can't see them coming back from it. Empoli, Samp and Genoa all above them, 11 points or more above, so I don't think they're in any danger. So yeah, Crotone, Palermo and Pescara looking back to Serie B.
Yeah, it'd be the biggest turn-up in all history, I think, if any of those stayed up, so I don't think there's much chance. Is there a particular fixture or fixtures that you're looking forward to next week?
Yes. So Saturday, personally I'll be watching Inter Pescara.
Naturally.
But no, the game I'm most interested in from next week is actually Torino-Atalanta, two very attacking sides. It's on the Sunday, it's the early kick-off, 11:30. So that should be really exciting. Atalanta with the slightly better defence, but they've lost a couple of players. Kesey's obviously away at the African Nations, and it's at Torino as well, so it should be a good game.
Yeah, one to keep an eye out for. Any other business before we move on? Anything you want to mention transfer-wise? I see there's a certain Everton player who's rocking up in Milan this week.
Yes, Deulofeu has joined on loan for 6 months, and then I believe there is an option to buy as well, but it's not obligatory, so we'll see what happens. By all accounts, he doesn't get on very well with Suso, so that'll be interesting. But I'd imagine that if he does sign after the loan period is up, that will probably signal the end of Niang at Milan, as he looks like he's coming in as his replacement.
Yes, indeed. And a little bit of talk about Ricardo Rodriguez going to Inter as well. Maybe we'll talk to Drew about that in a second. So, okay, good stuff. If you want to ask John about stuff in Italy, you can do so. John, where can people find you? Before I forget, because I know I will.
It's at jwelsh84.
There you go, gentlemen and ladies. You can tweet your questions to John and he will do his best to look them up. I've heard that he really likes questions about the coefficient, so get those in while you can. Right, okay, that's Italy done for this week then. Let's move it on to another area. And Drew's a happy boy because he gets to talk about some football. So let's see what's been happening as this week's Bundesliga returns. Right, Drew. First question I'm going to ask you straight off the bat.
Sure.
Who took the goals away?
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, you heard me. Who took the goals away? Two 1-0s and a 0-0 and another 0-0 on Sunday. This is outrageous.
It can't be, a goal scoring fest every weekend.
Well, that's not what I signed up for, Drew. I'm not having this. Let's start with Bayern Munich then, because they got the fixtures back underway after the winter break. It looked quite chilly, I have to say, in Freiburg on Friday night, and it was a 2-1 victory for Bayern Munich. They were forced to work very hard for it after they went behind actually to Haberer's opener for Freiburg, but a certain Polish chap came good, and a 90th minute winner was something a little bit special, wasn't it?
Was it's kind of hard to continuously talk about how Bayern will always ground out results, but I think despite that, I think a lot of credit has to be given to Freiburg for how difficult they made it for them, honestly. And when you look at the numbers in the post-match, Bayern were held to 13 total shots, and Freiburg garnered 11 of their own, and that was just on 25% possession. Bayern are always going to have the ball; they're always going to outpass you, but Christian Streich deserves a lot of credit for how well his team defended. I think on the whole, and a lot of people might say that there might have been 1 or 2 chances Bayern should have converted past the 2 that they got, but if it wasn't for a bit of Robert Lewandowski heroics, RB Leipzig would be closer than the 3-point gap than they already are. But this is the other issue, is that if this was, say, Dortmund or RB Leipzig or a side of that quality, would they have been able to go on and really ground out the result? And at the end of the day, I think this is why Bayern are still top. On a different day, with a different side, Freiburg may have gone on and won. They may have gotten a point which a lot of people feel like they were well deserved, considering Yannick Haber opened the scoring on 4 minutes. It could have been a different story if it wasn't Bayern who were on the road to them. So, but I think it's it's a good display for Freiburg, despite that they lost. They're still sitting, I think, for me, well above expectations. Considering they're top half of the table, half the season in now. So I think it's still, they can take positives out of it and move forward with that. And I think this is a display that you'll see more from them, and that you've seen already from them in the Hinrunde. And I think that's why I think they'll be safe come May.
I really, really hope that Freiburg do kick on, because they're just one of those teams that I just really like. They're just
you just like those scrappy, hardworking type sides. It's the Pirates life for you, really.
That's what it is. Especially after following Paderborn, trust me, that was hard slog at times. So there must be something about them that I quite like.
Can I just say that Lewandowski goal, the winner in the injury time, I think I fell over just watching it. I have no idea how he kept his balance, just to bring it down his chest and then a knee, and then to almost intentionally scuff it to get it to going off the post. Unbelievable.
It's funny because there's been a lot of talk about how well Aubameyang has played this season, and there's a lot of talk about how Anthony Modestas now has to be considered one of the better strikers in the Bundesliga, considering his goal-scoring efforts between last season and this season. But an effort like that tells you why, for so many people, Lewandowski is, the buck stops at him for a center forward, for being the tops in Europe at the moment. People will still talk about Higuain's quality, and I know Kris hates him because he's awful in regards to the chance he takes, but Cavani is an excellent goal scoring form and stuff like that. But Lewandowski's been doing this kind of stuff since he's been at Dortmund, and then that's why Bayern went and got him. And despite the fact that Dortmund and Bayern are rivals now, but he even though he's been inconsistent this season on the whole, he's still capable of such quality like that. At the end of the day, this is what he does, and it was a special effort for sure.
I don't hate Cavani. I just don't.
You hate that he could be so much better, but he's not. I think that's
better. Yeah,
because you're used to seeing the Cavani from Serie A, where he was brilliant for Napoli and Palermo, and now he needs 68 chances to score for PSG.
It's what I call the Andy Cole effect. I think my other issue is that too many people who don't actually watch him seem to rate him very highly because he's got a name and he's got nice hair and good cheekbones and stuff. Anyway, that's enough about him. Let's move on to another game. Your beloved Dortmund. They got there in the end, didn't they, against Werder Bremen? A 2-1 victory. Of all people, Lucas Piszczek with the winner. They didn't have labour with this game, didn't they?
They did. In regards to Piszczek's effort, just briefly, it was wonderful. I know we talked about it briefly in the WhatsApp group, but it was a lovely little dink over the keeper. He was free in the box, but this was again the scoreline, I think, sort of flatters Bremen a bit. I think that they did enough to maybe claw back, but really, when you look at the balance of play, Dortmund should have won this easily, and I think that's, again, one of the bigger criticisms that I've had this season, that a lot of journalists have had this season of Thomas Tuchel's side, is that there's so much quality there, yet they always make it so difficult for themselves. Whether if it's one mistake at the back that they're always punished by, and the Finn Bartels goal is a prime example. But also sometimes they just need so many chances to get goals, and it's not going to help that Aubameyang isn't there at the moment. So, Andre Schürrle slotted in up front, and I thought he took his goal well, but I don't think that's, against better sides, Andre Schürrle is not going to be effective as a center forward. I think that's the bigger issue. And, the club's gone out and got Alexander Isak from Oh God, what Swedish side is he from? I just wrote an article about him like 2 weeks ago. Someone help me. What club did he? AIK he come from, didn't he? Yes.
Isak,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes. Okay. So and from what I do know of him, people are already calling him the next Ibrahimovic, and I think it's a little bit early to say. But Dortmund usually don't go out and buy young players unless they really feel that they can contribute in the near future, if not currently. And it wouldn't surprise me if Isak comes straight into the first team, not necessarily start, but I think Tuchel will give him a chance to prove himself and see maybe he might get some minutes later on in the season. But moving forward, I think maybe he feels like they might have found their center forward for the long term. I don't think he would purchase. But back to the match, I thought that this is my issue with Dortmund this season, is that they labor when they don't need to. I think when you're playing a side like Bremen, and you really want to kickstart the Rückrunde in positive fashion, a labored 2-1 win where it should have been 4-0, 5-0, maybe. There's so many chances that they could have done so much better with. And I think that's going to be the issue at hand against a better side that isn't Bremen. This could have been a draw or a loss, depending. So I think he needs to continue to work on the balance. I don't think the 11 he picked was balanced in that match. He's missing some players through some knocks. Aubameyang's not there. I mean, I get it, but sometimes I still think he doesn't know the right direction he wants to go in, and if he's still asking himself that question with the second half of the campaign starting, I think that's a large part of the problem. But they're back in the top 4 now, and if they can kick on, I don't see why they won't finish second or third. So.
Yeah, still in the Champions League, of course, as well, which they'll have their eyes firmly focused on. In other news, Schalke got a last-minute winner through a new signing, Bergstaller, who I believe was the Bundesliga 2 top scorer, I think.
Do you believe you're right? Yes.
Yes.
So.
I have forgotten who he signed from, so I quickly look. It's from Nuremberg.
Yes.
So he got the last-minute winner over Ingolstadt. Wolfsburg got a 1-0 victory over Hamburg. Another late goal there through Mario Gomez, despite Alban Akdal being sent off early for Hamburg. Hoffenheim, they keep going, don't they? Sandra Wagner and Andrei Kramaric, another victory. They're still unbeaten. I can't think of many teams in Europe that are unbeaten at this stage.
They're the only one in Europe's top 5 leagues that are still unbeaten.
There you go.
So, I mean, there very well could be a side in, I don't know, the Lithuanian Premier League that is unbeaten. But the fact that when you look at the Bundesliga, and unquestionably it's one of the top 3 leagues in Europe, you can argue if it's better than LaLiga or the Premier League if you want, I suppose. But the fact that they're still unbeaten, considering that they now have played every side in the league, it's just, considering how much they struggled in the past 2 years prior to this, it's a wonderful thing to watch. And Ross brought up in the WhatsApp group, he said truly that this can't last the whole season, and everyone was saying up to this point that surely it wouldn't last half the season, but I don't think they're going to go on and go undefeated. I think that the Bundesliga is too good for that. But I think it does speak volumes to the work Nagelsmann has done as a young manager in such a short amount of time. But also, again, he deserves a lot of credit for the astute signings he made in the summer, a lot of the under-the-radar signings. And he just knows his players and knows the system that works for them. And I think that's all it's necessary. He keeps it simple. He doesn't complicate things. He knows how he wants to go out and play. And I think the players respond to that. And I think there's a lot of leadership in that side as well. I think that definitely helps. And you mentioned Sandro Wagner, who for me, I know he's getting on in age now. I think he's 29 or 30, if I remember right. But I was considering writing a blog for one of the sites I write for, that arguing that why Germany need to give him a serious look to lead the line for them. He's a really good traditional center forward, and he's a leader as well. I think all around, he's excellent. And he's got that was his 10th goal he bagged at the weekend, and you saw this from him from Darmstadt last season. So I think it's time to put him into the conversation of players that you're going to have to look out for. But on the whole, I think Hoffenheim will end up in a Champions League spot come the end of the season. I think it'll be a nice little, we had Augsburg 2 seasons ago when they made Europa League. So if Hoffenheim can go on and from last season into this season and then make Champions League, that'd be another good story for the headline. So.
Yeah, amazing achievement. And if we can plug this because he's a former guest of ours. There's a blog that you've rather enjoyed reading that people should check out if they're interested in Julian Nagelsmann. That was read that today. I think you've retweeted it, haven't you, as well?
I did. So Ross Dunbar, we had him on before, as you say. He wrote an article for The Ringer about Julian Nagelsmann, and then it was more or less about. Let me pull it up, and then I can give like a quick synopsis. He talks about how they're undefeated up till now. What are the limitations of sports science? Nagelsmann's desire to continuously play attractive football, and why it's important. And he also goes into some of his the managerial influences that he's had, that he's tried to model his approach on. And for some of our listeners who will appreciate this, Arsene Wenger is actually one of them he lists. So it's an excellent read, and we can tweet it out later if you guys are interested. So yeah, Korash already responded. Actually, I talked about it earlier. He said it was an excellent read as well. So if you're listening, Korash, there you go.
Good stuff. Yeah, please do give that a read, and we'll try and drag Ross on. I'm sure he'll come back on again at some point in the near future. So, super stuff. Okay, just running up a couple of the results as one of the team I want to focus on. John, Gladbach couldn't score, but didn't concede.
I'll take it. I will take it.
You'll take it against bottom club Darmstadt.
Hold on. We were away to Darmstadt. Come on, give the.
That's still not an excuse. Let's be honest, John.
Yes.
I'm not trying to make you feel bad about your life.
No, I am.
Yeah, no. Was it Raphael and Stindl up front? I only saw highlights. I couldn't watch the game live, sadly.
Probably best.
Yeah, not the best, but again, I'm giving Hecking time. It's only one game in. Yep. We didn't lose it. That was the most important thing. I think, like Drew said last week, I think he'll do well enough that we're not going to be in danger of going down. Whether I'm going to get to see exciting football at Gladbach for the rest of the season, I doubt. But yeah, I'll give them a few more games. If we keep getting blanks against the dregs of the Bundesliga, then I'll start getting worried.
What I will say is that John mentioned this in the WhatsApp chat. I think the fact that they switched back to a back four. Certain players were now being deployed into managers, which, you might want to see. Torgan Hazard was on the left. He actually hit the bar in that game. And I thought he put in a much improved performance because he's playing in a position more comfortable. So if Hecking can come in, and it seems like he's already done that. If he can come in and improve the balance of the first team, come up with a tactical scheme that suits the players' abilities, where they're more comfortable in their approach in the positions where they can perform best at. I think he's already doing a much better job early days, and I think that's what you'll get from him. I think he's going to want to get stability first, like John has mentioned, and then once everything is stable, from the team's mentality to the tactical approach to where the players are comfortable, then he can go build on and improve the product. But I think Gladbach should have won that match, but at least they didn't lose, like John just said. So a point in his first match away from home is a decent building block, even though it was against Darmstadt, who honestly didn't play poorly, actually, despite, they're bottom of the league. I still think they actually played pretty okay. So I think, but it's a good way to start, and we'll see where they're at, come a month from now, see if they've improved at all.
Yeah, they'll take it for now and move on. One of the other games I saw on Sunday was a bit of a stinker. Mainz 0, Cologne 0, so not much to talk about there. Leverkusen back to winning ways, 3-1 victory over Hertha Berlin. It's a good result for them. 2 goals for Hakan Çalhanoğlu in that one. But the final game Sorry, go on.
Oh, it's an excellent result. That's it. Nothing
It was. Yeah, no, absolutely. Hertha still flying high their fist, but they've had a bit of patchy form if you include the time before the break. But a side that isn't really having patchy form overall this whole season is RB Leipzig, who are the last team I want to talk about. They got 3-0 victory over my dearly beloved Eagles, Eintracht Frankfurt. It wasn't helped by a piece of bizarre goalkeeping in the 3rd minute from Hradecki, who came out of the box and then sort of nonchalantly handled it as if to say, yeah, I've handled it, so what? And was sent off, quite rightly so. So with 87 minutes on the clock, it wasn't a big surprise when Leipzig went and scored 3 goals, compare Timo Werner and an own goal from Jesus Vallejo. Leipzig just keep going, don't they? Do you think there is a ceiling to the season, or should we really be starting to think of them as Champions League contenders now?
I think they're going to be in Champions League. I'm as sure of it as Well, I'm more sure of it as than I think Hoffenheim will end up fourth. I think the question for Urbil is, will they continually be as consistent going forward? I mean, at the moment, it seems that, bar Bayern and one or two other maybe questionable performances, they've been excellent in regards to their attacking ability. And I think, and again, as I said before, beginning of the season, I had questions on their back four. Marvin Kamper hasn't exactly been a Bundesliga standout at any point in his career. Willi Orban was not tested at the highest level. And they're missing one or two key defenders. But they've come up with a system that really relies on play in midfield, controlling when they can. But it's also put two midfield workhorses, Diego Demi, you've seen Naby Keita play there, Stefan Ilsanker, Dominic Kaiser. These are all midfielders who, understanding that they have to support the back four, and I think it's helped the fact that on paper, really, they don't have the strongest defense or goalkeeper for that matter. But I think they'll end up in Champions League. I think that puts them well ahead of what their aspirations are as a club. But when you see how they've played and how they've operated moving into this season, I still think you have to give them credit, despite, not agreeing with how they're necessarily run from like a financial standpoint, with all the corporate backing. I know obviously it's a big taboo thing in Germany, but from a footballing standpoint, you do have to give them credit, and they've relied on a lot of young players, and it's reaping results. They've wanted to go out and prove themselves as a club. Players wanted to go out and prove themselves. People like Timo Werner, who got relegated with Stuttgart last season. I think come the end, if they don't end second, I think they'll end up third. If Dortmund go on a massive run, which they're capable of, I think their worst they'll do is third and get automatic qualification. And I think it'll be a good thing to see. So.
Yeah, I think no matter what whatever people say or think about the whole branding exercise and the money and everything that goes with it, the bottom line is they put together a very good footballing side, and that's what you have to give credit for, and they are where they deserve to be. So credit where credit's due, and the end of the season will be interesting to see where they end up. Speaking of where teams end up, so we've had one round of fixtures since the resumption. Where are we in the table? Because I'm sure everyone's forgotten where the table is.
Bayern is still top on 42 points. RBL are second on 39. Hoffenheim are third on 31 points. Dortmund are tied on points with Werder Bremen on 30 points, but better goal sees them on fourth. Eintracht are still in the top seven. They're on 29 points and sixth. SC Cologne are seventh on 26 points. Bottom three, Hamburg 16th on 13, Ingolstadt 17th on 12, and Darmstadt are still bottom on 9 points.
It's tough winter ahead for those bottom clubs. What's the fixture or fixtures that you've picked out for next week?
RBL play Hoffenheim in Leipzig. That's going to be fantastic. Apart from that, Leverkusen hosts Gladbach. That could be another good one. Again, away from home, John's not going to be happy. But Leverkusen showed at the weekend that they might be turning a corner, and it'll be interesting to see how Hacking approaches that match against a much different opponent than what he saw against Darmstadt. So I think that's another one to look out for.
Yeah, it'd be a real test of Hoffenheim's unbeaten run, that one for sure. Mm-hmm. Any other business or any transfer bits and bobs you want to talk about this week?
I mentioned the Isak deal for Dortmund, but also Christian Pulisic signed an extension for Dortmund, and I know that there's going to be Liverpool fans who are still going to think by end of January he'll end up at Anfield. But no, I think this is a deal that makes sense for the club, but more importantly for him, because he's going to keep playing. Even when Aubameyang comes back, Pulisic, he's still found his way in the 11. He's starting, Dortmund still have Champions League commitments, so Tuchel still does rotate at least his attacking players pretty regularly. So, and it's just Dortmund have an excellent track record of bringing talent through and pushing them onto the next level. So I think this makes sense. If he was to move now to a side, say like Liverpool, for example, who have 65 attacking players on the books, would it have hampered his development? Liverpool don't have as good a track record with bringing younger players through and really establishing them as first team regulars. So I think for now, it makes sense for him, and it's good for the U.S. national team as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, good show. And if you are a fan of Christian Pulisic, you'll want to stay tuned to this podcast next week. I shall say no more. Before we leave Germany, two things quickly. Liverpool actually have 68 attacking players, not 65. So if you can get your
I'm
facts
sorry.
Right,
How dare I?
how dare you? And the other thing is, I went full hipster last week. I got to meet Jurgen Klopp very briefly, has to be said. I can't take any credit for a long, drawn-out conversation, but I was able to get about 3 sentences out of him after the being a guest at the Plymouth game. So yeah, so there you go. I asked him. He described Plymouth as quaint, which I thought was rather cute, quite apt. I asked him what I basically kind of mootedly pointed out what he thought of England. I don't really know what answer he gave, really. It was more of one of those, oh yeah, I like it here. That was about it. And then he proceeded to mock me for being an Arsenal fan, because he asked me if I was a Red, and I said I'm a Gunner, and his response was, you chose the wrong Reds. So cheeky git. But he did like the fact I liked heavy metal, because I had a Metallica t-shirt on.
Of course he would. Why wouldn't he?
Exactly. So yes, I'm not convinced yet that I haven't fallen in love with him like everyone else, but he's a very nice bloke. I'll say that much. So and I'm sure he speaks highly of me. So there we go. Good. Okay. Right, Drew, where can people find you if they want to tweet you lovely questions and goodies?
At AFC BVB 1410, as always.
There you go. Get it done, people. Get it done. And speaking of getting it done, this is my part where I hand over to John. And I was going to say rest my vocal cords, but I don't get to do that. I get to answer some questions instead. So we're going to transition now into France, and it's this weekend's Liga.
This week we're going to start with some bad news, but maybe we'll talk about the game first. Bastia won, Nice won. Nice dropping points again.
Yeah, have the wheels come off? I don't know. I don't think they've come off completely, but there's definitely a few sort of cogs loose. That's for sure. 4 draws from the last 5 games. Not ideal, is it? But as you quite rightly said, there was a game going on as well as the bits and bobs that happened afterwards. It was a Friday night game. Suke I love that name. It sounds like a glove puppet on that sooty. Suke equalising Prince Niangué's first goal since he came back to France. He used to play for Wolves. He was sold by Wolves in the transfer window. He got the opener. Kalzak was actually sent off for Bastia's second half, but Nice couldn't get the breakthrough, and it ended in a 1-1 draw. It's obviously a better result for Bastia than it is for Nice. But as you alluded to there, you can't keep them out the headlines, can you? Super Mario took to Instagram later on in the evening to suggest that he had been a victim of a lot of racist abuse. It's kind of a bit of a weird situation, this. There are images of Bastia fans doing the sort of the monkey pose, the monkey noises. I think it's fair to say there is some smoke here and very much a lot of fire. Bastia are in serious trouble if this happens, because there's a lot of talk that the ground will have there'll basically be a ban of fans for up to 3 games. It could be behind closed doors games. I'm never 100% sure how much difference that makes on the pitch, but it does seem to affect clubs' results. That's not good for them. Bastia have come out in force and have vehemently denied this. They said that there's a group of supporters, they can't control everybody, which I do understand that point, but it's a very difficult one, because if this was any other player but Mario Balotelli, I think your immediate thought would be punish the opposition and take them to task. And don't get me wrong, if this is proven to be what it is and as big an incident as it is, they should have the book thrown at them. But Mario, you just never know, do you? With Mario, I'm not for a minute suggesting it didn't happen. Clearly, it did, but he doesn't have sort of make a big thing out of any incident, shall we say. And obviously, racism is a very, very serious, it's a crime, let's be honest, it is a crime. And if it is proven that the Basti fans did this, then yeah, absolutely, they should be reprimanded. But no matter what Mario does, trouble seems to follow him, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously very unfortunate, and there's been, since this has all come out, there's been talks of former Bastia players saying that they've been racially abused by their own fans, and apparently there's been a lot of history. Obviously, I know you watched a lot more France than I do, but I've just been reading up on it and listening to journalists and stuff, and apparently Bastia's got quite a history of this. So, yeah, the French FA have certainly got to step in and do something about it. I suppose the weird thing was that Mario didn't say anything at the end of the game, either to the referee or to the league delegates that are there at every match. I think that's where some of the confusion has come from. There's also emerged a video of the Bastia manager, not necessarily condoning what's going on, but sort of questioning Balotelli's attitude as he comes off the pitch, clearly sort of upset and distressed. That I've seen going around on Twitter. So I don't know if anything will happen to him as well. But yeah, not a great week advert for Bastia, at least. Anyway. No,
you're right. And their fans, as you quite rightly say, there's history there. Let's put it that way. And as I say, I'm in no way condoning the actions at all. And I'm not saying that Mario shouldn't be making a big fuss about this, because he should. Absolutely. I just think, like you said, we've seen incidents where players, I think it was Kevin Prince Boateng, walked off the pitch during a game, and you just wonder how much of this is has been egged on slightly, even though, of course, if it is proven to be true, then it has to be dealt with.
Yeah. Well, that's not good news, but we'll move on to some good news for PSG, a team chasing Nice and obviously trying to overtake them and to get to the league title. Comfortable 2-0 win. Your best mate Cavani, 2 very good goals, I must say.
Ooh. Yes, wearing these hideous new Nike boots that I'm not a fan of, I have to say. So Lewandowski was wearing these as well.
Always got to find something to pick on.
Well, I mean, they are hideous. They look a little bit like clown shoes. One side's bright green and the other side's bright pink. They look a bit weird, but nevertheless, yes, he. I mean, you can't knock his goal-scoring record in, of course, Europe's weakest league. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. But no, I mean, he's getting goals, and you can't knock him for that. The free kick in particular was a gem, and the other finish was equally tidy. PSG. They're looking good again, to be fair. They've slowly started to grind through the gears. Interesting talk about a transfer that's imminent, which I might bring up at the end of the roundup. But they do look like a side that is slowly getting into top gear. Draxler seems to have settled nice and quickly. Kevin Trapp was back in goal, which a clean sheet obviously helps. And they seem to have a bit more of a settled side now. And I just think that Unai Emery divides opinion. He's heavily under pressure the other side of Christmas, but he seems to have got settled on this 4-3-3 formation and system now. He's moved Matuidi a little bit further back, which is allowing Draxler and Lucas to play further forward. Angel Di Maria is now resigned to the bench, which I'm sure will not please him, but he's where he should be on form. And that's freeing up Cavani to just go and do what he does. And the centre-back pairing of Silva and Marquinhos seem to be slowly getting back to their best form as well. Not to be disappointed. They've been really, really good under Sergio Conceição, but losing at home to PSG is never a disgrace. And I think they'll look at this game and think, wow, it's a couple of points drop, but ultimately these aren't the games that are going to keep them in Liga. So they won't be too concerned. They're sitting 11th now, and good win for PSG. We should mention, of course, the booking for Marco Verratti, which if anyone hasn't seen this, there is a law in French football that you cannot, I don't know what the exact wording is, but basically pardon my French, you can't take the piss out of the opposition. That's the general consensus of this, and it's unsporting behaviour if you do what Marco Verratti did, which essentially was get down on his hands and knees and head the ball back like off of the playground when you were a kid, where you get down on your hands and knees when you go around the goalkeeper and just head it over the line. Well, this wasn't a goal as such. He was just heading it back to his goalkeeper. Confusion ensued, and the referee booked him for unsporting behaviour. Don't think you're going to see too many of those bookings throughout the season, but Marco was not a happy chap on this.
My favourite image from all of that was Thiago Silva laughing as Verratti.
Yeah, it was quality, wasn't it? Yeah,
which is fantastic. I understand what Verratti was doing, trying to do, but yeah, really, really strange. I think the ruling is you can't use a trick as well or something like that, so you can't like flick the ball up to yourself and then head it back to the goalkeeper, that kind of thing. Apparently is deemed unsporting, but yeah, I've never seen that sort of booking before. Very good. 20 goals for Cavani so far this season.
Yeah, in 21 games, 20 games, 19 games, I forget. Yeah, it's pretty good. He's doing all right, to be fair to him. Yeah, I can't knock him too much. 20 in, I'm sure it's 20 games, but you're right, 20 goals in the league. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, meanwhile, Bordeaux got a 1-0 win over Toulouse. First, was it quickest goal in the league this season? 14 seconds, something like that. I think it was. 14 seconds. Yeah, absolutely. Very good goal. Dijon and Lille played out a little 0-0. Caen Nancy was postponed. I assume that was for weather.
Frozen pitch, yes, unfortunately.
There we go. Yeah. One game I do just want to stop on quickly before we get to the big boys. I know everyone's waiting for Gangon Ren. Wonderful goal from Johan Gourcuff. You don't get to see many of these, but absolutely brilliant.
Oh, I love that man. He's a man who could sew a silk purse out of a sow's ear. He's one of those. He's just one of those footballers that a little bit like Matt Letizia used to be, if you know what I mean. You look at him and you go, he's a bit stocky. He looks a bit sort of cumbersome, but when he swings that foot, he's just very, very cultured. And as you rightly say, to find it was a postage stamp top corner, but it wasn't a thrash at the ball. It wasn't a drill. It was open the foot up and just bend it into that top corner. And he's a wonderful player. The biggest problem he's always had and will continue to have is, can he stay fit? That's always been his biggest problem. If he can stay fit, he's an absolute asset to any side. And Ren will benefit if he can stay in that side and scoring goals like that. I think they would be foolish to let him go.
Yeah. Really, really good goal and nice. Just how he beat a couple of players as well in the build up to it. Very good. Metz down at the bottom, fighting for their lives. 2 goals from Diabate. Giving them a nice win over Montpellier. Very important. Not good news for you, of course.
Yeah.
Because shall we touch on the league leaders, Monaco? They, of course, went and scored lots of goals against a certain Lorient.
Yeah, we could touch on it like a cat would sort of touch if he touched his paw on a hob when it was left on, like just briefly, and they go ooh, and then run away. I mean it was men against boys. Lorient, I don't make no bones about it. I didn't expect much, and I was rightfully rewarded with not very much. 2 goals apiece from Boschilia and Valerie Jamal. It was just comfortable. Monaco, 60 goals this season. Sorry, 64 goals this season now. I mean, that is just absolutely bonkers. When you consider PSG the closest then with 41. I mean, 23 more goals is just absolutely crazy. But they look like a side that every time they go out, they look like they're going to score goals. It doesn't matter who they've got. And we will, of course, touch on the game of the week upcoming, which is a biggie next week. But, I mean, they for me, they are the favourites to win the league. They've impressed me hugely. And as good as Nice have been, Monaco have just pipped them for me. I think the only thing that could throw Monaco off, and I know we've got a question on this, so I won't go into too much detail, but that Man City tie, if they come through that, I think there'll be a lot of teams that will look at Monaco and go, actually, we really don't want to draw this lot. And the deeper that they go in the Champions League, how that could stretch the squad potentially could be a deciding factor. But no, I mean they're just a joy to watch. And the thing I really like about them is they were heavily criticised for all the money they spent. They've gone back to basics. Jardim is proving what a good coach he is, and he's brought back even players like Falcao, who's written off, Shaman, who was on loan. He's brought through youngsters. He's really is taken them to a new level. And as for Lorient, they were crap.
Well, that's a pretty good summary.
that's honest, and they weren't even very good crap. I mean, they were so poor. And all jokes aside, it's going to be a very long second half of the season. And in fairness to Lorient, if you look at the fixtures that they've got, obviously coming up, this isn't going to be one they're going to look at. Whereas if the next couple of fixtures, particularly at home to Dijon and Toulouse, of the next 4, surely they are going to be the games they have to start winning at home.
Yeah, they're the ones they'll target for points. Just briefly, I got very excited when I saw that Saint-Etienne won a game 2-1, because I thought, oh my god, Saint-Etienne have scored 2 goals. But of course they didn't actually, because Bamba scored an own goal. So Saint-Etienne only scored 1 of them.
Yes, but did you see the big thing that came out of this game?
No, I did not.
Well, Angers, who, as you say, struggling themselves this season, their coach Stéphane Moulin, he was very, very short on attacking options in this game. So he shoved Matej Pavlovic, who you might have noticed scored a goal.
Yes.
He's a centre-back. So they shoved him up front and went, okay, let's just see what happens. And after a couple of sort of ricochets around, he put them in front. So there you go, kids. If all else fails, stick your big centre-back up front and go for gold. So didn't work in the end. They lost the game, but credit where credit's due. That's a gamble that paid off.
Yeah. Now the other big game of the weekend was the 2 Olympic sides. Lyon and Marseille came head to head. Marseille, obviously, lots of excitement there now with the money and investment and everything else. But those players aren't all in place. And Lyon got a very good 3-1 win, and also got to show off their brand new signing as well.
Yes, indeed they did. Memphis Depay, who of course arrived from Manchester United this week, he got the last 10, 15 minutes, I think it was. This was a delightful game of football. I really, really enjoyed this. I saw a lot of people being a bit sniffy about the first half. It came in at 1-0 and it was a little bit scrappy, but I just really, really enjoyed it. It's just a proper game of football, and just some fantastic goals and really, really enjoyable end-to-end stuff. And both teams really went for it, which was kind of quite fun. I actually thought Marseille were a little bit unfortunate in the first half. They did create some very good openings, but they didn't take their chances. And you know what happens when you don't take your chances in football. And wouldn't you know it, Mathieu Valbuena, who's just starting to hit that form that we all know he's got in him. He scored an absolute peach just before half-time, curling in from the... if you think of the Wayne Rooney free kick for Manchester United against Stoke, it was a similar angle, but just slightly closer to goal and cut inside and just unleashed it into the top corner. Absolute cracker. And at that stage it was sort of plain sailing really for Lyon into the second half. They dominated the early stages. And then they got a second. My mate Alex Lacazette on 61 minutes, and all was well. Only for Doria, who's very highly thought of him in his native Brazil, scrambled in a goal back just 6 minutes later, and he thought game on. And then there was a very unfortunate mix-up at centre back for Marseille. A horrible back pass into the path of Lacazette, who just does what Lacazette does. Whipped in the third and clinching goal. For all you people out there that doubt Alexandre Lacazette, that's now 17 in his last 16 games, which isn't that bad, is it? Whether you rate Liga or you don't, you've still got to put the ball in the back of the net. So for me, it will be his last season, and I have a sneaking suspicion that Drew might be seeing a little bit more of Mr. Lacazette, because I have a sneaking suspicion he might replace a certain Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang at Dortmund, but that's just my thoughts on that one. But yeah, cracking game of football, and Lyon slowly but surely climbing that table once again. And don't forget, they've still got to play that game against Metz again. So if they can get 3 points from that game, that would take them to 40 points, which is only 5 off PSG in third. So Champions League is still a possibility. And of course, they got the Europa League to fight for in the second half of the season as well.
Yeah, so speaking of the table, just want to give us a quick update on where everyone stands.
Yes, indeed. So Monaco are top of the league, 2 points clear from Nice. They got 48 points, Nice 46. PSG a point behind them on 45. As we mentioned, Lyon fourth, out on their own, 6 points clear of Guingamp in fifth, and St Etienne up to 6, leapfrogging Marseille after that victory over Angers. Rennes, Bordeaux, Toulouse, Nantes, Nancy make up down to 12th. And then down at the bottom, Lorient, bottom, 18 points, only 5 wins, oh dear, for their 21 played. Angers, second bottom, 20 points. Metz are climbing up this weekend with that victory, 21 points from their 20 games played. Caen, same points, 21 17th. Bastia, same points, 16th, 21 points. And Dijon, 15th, 21 points. Dijon, of course, have that tricky looking tie with Lorient. That could be a real 6-pointer coming up soon. And then Montpellier, Lille are in 13th and 14th respectively. Montpellier still under a huge amount of pressure to perform. Things are not well there. So that's the table as we stand right now.
Do you want to give us any news and a game to look out for next week?
Yes, the only real, two bits of transfer news, I suppose. Dimitri Payet, the saga continues. A lot of talk that the deal will get done with Marseille. It looks to me like only a matter of time now. Let's be honest, he's not playing for West Ham again. So I think it will happen. It's just a question of wrangling over a couple of million quid, which sounds throwaway comment if ever there was one. But I think that deal will get done. An interesting sort of leaks through the transfer wires this evening. It looks as though Paris Saint-Germain are going to sign Gonzalo Guedes, who long-time listeners to the podcast might remember was a former Hipsters choice last season. Sort of tricky winger for Benfica, hugely talented. It looks as though that deal is going to get finalised in the coming hours, making him PSG's second signing of the window. Well, third technically if you include Lo Celso. He is definitely one to watch. And one thing I would say is if he does come in, I think that will bring about a very unhappy end to Hesse's career in Paris. I don't think he'll be sticking around beyond this window. So, yeah, good signing that for PSG for Guedes if he does come in. And as for fixture next week, sorry, I'm going to be obvious, but PSG Monaco. It's a Sunday game. It's 8 o'clock. If Monaco win that, I'll go out on a limb and say for me, that will officially make them, for me, odds on for the championship. If PSG win it and level up on points with Monaco, then we've got a very exciting finish to the title race.
Yeah, good stuff. That's everything for Liga this week, so I'll hand it back to you, Kris.
Lovely job. Okay, just one league to go then, and we are heading to Spain for the final league, where myself, John and Drew will attempt to fill you in on all things La Liga. Okay, as I'm sure our regular listeners will know, we're still kind of learning the ropes in La Liga, and between us three, we're sort of trying to fill as much time as we can, checking out bits and bobs and highlights and whatnot between us. So apologies if it's not as thorough as it could be, but we're still working on getting a fourth body in. So until then, we shall bodge away, gentlemen. We shall bodge away. I suppose we should start with the top end of the table because that's where everyone has an interest. Real Madrid are still top of the table. They had a 2-1 victory over Malaga at the weekend. 2 more goals, John, for Sergio Ramos. He's I think I saw a stat this week. I can't remember the exact figures, but I think I'm right in saying he scored as many goals as Andres Iniesta now, which is just mental.
It's probably something ridiculous like that. He always seemed to score in like the big derby games or like cup finals. Champions League, Copa del Rey, things like that. Just the really important matches. Sort of doing the being a captain kind of thing. He's just a great aerial threat and always has been. But he's just an all-round very, very good footballer. I remember when he first sort of burst in to the team and he was playing right back a lot more, wasn't he? Than centre half, and you used to see how good he was going forward with the ball. Yeah. Just shows how good a footballer he is, and also the run Madrid were on. Obviously, they lost that game, and everyone was like, "Oh, well, they stumble a little bit," because sometimes if you've been on a winning run for so long, it's hard to get that rhythm back again once you lose a game. But they just picked it up straight away. another win, keep themselves top. And just trying to keep the gap between them and the rest of the chasing pack for the league. And I think Zidane is proving people wrong, to be honest, because I personally didn't think that he'd be capable of managing such a sort of star-studded and what you would assume would be some very big egos in that team. But he seems to be handling it perfectly.
Yeah, you can't knock the results, can you? That's for sure for Zizou. And Barcelona matched them. They matched them in points at least with a 4-0 victory over Eibar, who've been having a pretty awesome season themselves, it has to be said. But goals from Denis Suarez, Luis Suarez, Neymar, and this bloke called Messi, because he has to score, doesn't he? So 4-0 victory, pretty comfortable for Barcelona. Drew, I just wanted to ask you quickly about Atletico Madrid.
Sure.
Because this is we have a question about this actually, which I suppose I should probably just segue into, even though we've got the onion bag to come. But it seems relevant to bring it up now. It's from Bobby, our good friend Chakraborty. He said, "What the hell is happening at Atletico Madrid? They got a 2-2 draw this weekend with a wonderful Griezmann equaliser in the 80th minute, but 2-2 away at Bilbao." They're fourth in the table. They had won 3 straight, but something's not right there, is it? Do you think it is the Simeone issue, or is the team just lost a bit of passion for what they were doing? What do you think's going on there?
I don't think it's a passion issue. I think that there's a lot of, how do I put this? I don't think they have the X factor, and I don't think that they have the ability to really control matches and really push teams aside in an attacking standpoint that you would see from, Barcelona, Real Madrid, and even Sevilla this season, who've been incredibly impressive. I think that's the issue. I think Griezmann hasn't been at his complete best. I think, he still might be having a bit of a, odd to say, but it seems like, when you look at it, he was in brilliant form coming into the Euro. France didn't win, and then now it's a different Griezmann. So maybe he still has a bit of lag from that, from a mental standpoint. We've seen it before from other players, so that could factor in. But, I think when you look at the team, I think he's really the only player they have that can really sort of lift the team up going forward. I think Kevin Gameiro is a good center forward, but he's not the type to really give you that kind of performance that you can see from the bigger teams in Spain as well. Yannick Carrasco's having a pretty good season. Saul Niguez, these are also players who perform well, but I don't think when the going gets tough in matches, I don't think that the Simeone system is good enough to really push them forward and see them get to grind out really difficult results routinely, like you could see from other teams. Even Sevilla this season seem to have players who can stand up and be counted when it's a rough fixture, and they put their foot down, and all of a sudden Sevilla gets 3 points. I think Atletico are missing that this season, whereas you would see it in seasons prior where there was enough, or such a brilliant defense would have been enough. But I don't think having such a very good defensive record this year in particular, I don't think it's going to be enough for them to challenge Real or Barca, especially with them still being in Champions League and questions about Simeone abound. Of course, it has to factor in, but I think it's more than just that. I think it's a bunch of things that you have to consider. And moving forward, the club might have to think about if they want to maybe look to fine-tune the project, especially if Simeone leaves. So lots of questions, but they'll qualify for Europe. I just don't know if they're going to qualify for Champions League or not.
Yeah, I think they will qualify for the Champions League, but the only reason I say that is because I have a sneaking feeling they're going to win it. It's just got the look of that kind of season about it, in that they've just been so poor in the league that I could just see them doing something in the Champions League, and I wonder if that's where the focus is for Simeone. So.
I don't know if they've been poor in the league. They haven't been as good as we've seen them in the last 2 years, and but you also have to consider how many people think that Real Sociedad are going to be sustainable from here on out for the rest of the season. Will Villarreal sustain a challenge for a European place as well? These, and they're right in the middle with the push for fourth with those two sides. But if you really think about it, when it comes to recent experience and from both the manager and the playing staff, you have to think that Real Madrid have the edge. So sure, they could probably go on and finish top 4, but it's not the same side we've seen in recent seasons. Even though they're only 6 points off Barca. You can't imagine that Barca are going to drop it for the 6 points and let Atletico catch them. And, Barca have their own bigger fish to fry. So.
Yeah, be interesting team to watch this for the rest of the season, just to sort of see how they adjust it. Has the look of a bit of a stale squad to me. It's just my views, but still. Okay, Sevilla, you mentioned there, they got a thrilling 4-3 victory on the early game on the Sunday. 2 goals for Iborra there, Vasquez and Pablo Sarabia with a 90th minute goal. For one reply from Kenan. Iborra actually scored an own goal in that game as well, so he scored at both ends. That's quite impressive. But Osasuna beaten by the late rally from Sevilla when the score was at 3-2. At 2-2, and they got 3-2 and 4-2 in the last 10 minutes. So good result for Sampaoli. That was more like Sampaoli, actually, that sort of swashbuckling style of football. So that leaves Sevilla in second. Straight run of wins for them. They're on a charge. Real Sociedad also with a 2-1 victory. Which was to finish one of the weekend games on the Sunday with a 1-0 victory over Celta Vigo. Juanmi, who I'm sure, I'm frantically looking up, wasn't he the ex-Southampton? Yes, he was. The ex-Southampton forward, who didn't really have a very good time of it, did he, in the Premier League? I don't think he ever actually scored when he was at Saints, but he got the winning goal. Good for him. And a couple of other results to highlight. The Friday evening game, Deportivo La Coruña with a 1-1 draw with Las Palmas. Espanyol getting a 3-1 victory over Granada. They're doing all right. Jose Antonio Reyes on the score sheet in that game. He's still there. He's still got it, bless him. Alaves with a 2-2 home draw against Leganes. Lots of S's there. Late equaliser from Pablo Insua there. And John, Valencia. They only went and won a game away from home.
I know, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, didn't see that one coming. 2-0 away at Villarreal. So, is this the start of Valencia's meteoric rise up the table to greatness? Or is it just 2 straight wins and then they'll probably lose?
I don't know. I mean, that's a very good result against Villarreal. Okay, they're in 6th in the league, Villarreal, this season. Probably about where they should be. But it's a very difficult place to go and play. I don't think teams often get results there, at least from what I remember in European competition anyway, from the times Arsenal have been there and other teams that I've watched go and play there. So I think it's a really good result for them, and it's the sort of thing that you can get some real... getting momentum is a big thing for Valencia, I think. It's what they need. Not just getting results, but putting in good performances, and by all accounts this was a good performance. So for them, hopefully, they can take something from this and try and keep it going and get a bit of a run. If they can get a run of 3-4 games with wins and draws and whatever, then they get themselves away from that sort of danger zone at the bottom. I mean, I think in all honesty they probably are safe anyway. I think that sort of the danger of relegation is kind of gone now. The bottom 3 are a bit more cut adrift, but just to get themselves back up, if they can get up between sort of 10th and 8th and finish the season there, considering the starts of the season they've had and the mess they've been in, I think that's really good. And then they've got the summer to, whether they decide to keep Foro as coach and go ahead with him, or they bring someone else in and then have a bit of a restructure, not just with the team but the structure above as well, with the owners and the board and everything. Then they've got something to build on.
Yeah, agreed. And if you look at the next couple of fixtures as well, there is an opportunity there for, if they can take it, away at Las Palmas. Not easy, but you think that is potentially winnable. Home to Eibar, away at Betis, home to Bilbao, and then Real Madrid come calling. So you'd think out of those 5 games, 3 of them arguably are winnable if they perform to this level again. So yeah, it's interesting. The curious case of Valencia continues, but we'll keep a close eye on them in the coming weeks. The only other results from the weekend's games are Betis and Gijón played out a 0-0 draw, which wasn't the best. In fact, that was the last fixture of the weekend's games, running them down here. So we'll have a quick look at the table. Real Madrid, as we said, are top of the league. They are 1 point clear of Sevilla, who are a further 1 point clear of Barcelona, who are back to 3rd position. Atletico Madrid a further 6 points behind now in 4th, tied on 35 points with Sociedad, who who are 5th. Villarreal make up the top 6 with Bilbao, Vigo, Celta de Vigo, that is, Espanyol and Eibar making up the top 10. Down at the bottom, reading downwards from 11th, Las Palmas, Deportivo, Betis, Malaga and 14th. The aforementioned Valencia on 19 points and 15th, as are Deportivo on 19 points and 16th, and the Legones 18 points and 17th. And then a little bit of a gap for the bottom 3. Sporting on 13 points for them in 18th, 10 points for Granada, looking doomed on 19 in 19th, and Osasuna bottom. Looks like they're destined for another trip back to Liga B. That's 20th and bottom, 9 points, so single digits for their 19 games played. So yeah, Segunda Liga is calling for Osasuna, unfortunately. As far as a game to look ahead for next week, I'm a little bit torn on this because there's a couple of fixtures that I know if I say they intrigue me, people are going to think I'm lying, but they genuinely do.
Looking at them, I thought the best looking game was probably Espanyol Sevilla.
Sevilla, yes, yeah. Exactly. That's exactly the game I thought. Yeah, I suppose of the rest of them, the pick of them. I mean, that Las Palmas game with Valencia is interesting, but I suppose Real Madrid's Sociedad is probably the biggie, isn't it? That's on the Sunday the 29th. So that's probably the big one to look out for. And I'm sure people want to know where the other teams are playing. So Alaves host Atletico Madrid. Barcelona are away at Betis. That's the early game on the Sunday afternoon, which won't be a cakewalk, by the way. That'll be an interesting one to keep an eye on. So, yes, we'll stay across that. Any other business from either of you, Spanish-wise? Anything that's caught your eye particularly this week?
There was some more reports on Griezmann and where he may end up. And it's looking more and more likely, at the moment anyway, that obviously can all change, but it's looking more and more likely that he will end up at Manchester United come the summertime, to go and join his mate Pogba, his best buddy. Yeah.
Have you heard the latest on that rumour?
No, I haven't, no.
There's a lot of talk that there's a young chap in Manchester by the name of Anthony Martial who's not very happy, shall we say, about his conduct from his manager and his recent omission from the squad. He was left out completely against Stoke at the weekend. There's a lot of talk that he will be Griezmann's replacement, and a deal that could see one going one way, one going the other way could be on the cards.
Yeah.
I still think it's going to take an awful lot of money to get Griezmann out of
yeah, well, it's not like they don't have it. That's the thing.
That's very true, yes. That's
and they won't. I mean, if that's the only signing they make this summer, which it won't be, they'd be happy. But the question is, where do you see him even fitting in? He's certainly not a Mourinho kind of center forward.
No,
and then
I agree.
On the same thing, he's not even a Mourinho style left winger, and and
he
you
would
see
have
the
to play as a 10, wouldn't he?
He would.
You'd have to think so, because you even see how reinvigorated Hazard has been under Conte after coming out of a Mourinho who didn't give him freedom when it was required. I think John and you can probably talk about it more, but I get the feeling that when you watch Chelsea under Conte now, that they're rigid up until a point, and then Conte allows certain players to be taken off the leash and express themselves. But I think Griezmann would be better served with a manager like that instead of a Mourinho who it has to be so structured, so rigid, and so regimented where it squashes that sort of.
Do you think Simeone isn't that far detached from Jose's style in the sort of defensive and being very structured and hard-working, and that every player has to defend? Obviously, I have a slightly different philosophy on how the team would attack. But you've seen Griezmann sort of grow as a player in the sort of the distance he covers and works for the team. So I don't know. We don't even know if Jose is the one making the decisions on transfers at Manchester United. Sure. That's the other thing as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's very, very true. I think the one thing's for sure, and obviously we'll get to this in the summer, but I think it will be quite a busy summer transfer window for for all three of the big guns, Atletico, Real and Barcelona. Am I right in saying this transfer ban is suspended, isn't it, for two clubs? So when that ends up coming about, I think they'll probably try and get their business done now rather than risk the appeals not going through or whatnot. So there's a lot of talk about goalkeepers as well. I think Thibaut Courtois has been linked with Real Madrid this week. So it'd be interesting to keep an eye on that. Okay, good. I would. This is normally the point where I give out a Twitter handle to ask for all things questions Spanish related, but we're not going to insult your intelligence by claiming to be experts. So I'm afraid you'll have to just tweet one of us and hope for the best. And we'll try and get answers to your questions for you. But
tweet the podcast account is the best plan.
Exactly, and then we'll just send them all to Ross or Josh, and we'll just get them to look the answers up. But no, we will hopefully have somebody who's sort of very keen and passionate about the Spanish league in place in the coming weeks. But until then, we'll just keep muddling by. So thank you for bearing with us as far as Spain goes. And if there is a particular topic you want us to talk about in Spain or research, please let us know, because we have the time to have a little look at something ahead of time if you want us to talk about it. So there we go. Okay, a couple of segments to go then. As this is a normal podcast, quote unquote, we're going to take a little delve into another league in Europe and see what's going on. It's this week's Best of the Rest. I thought I'd test myself this week. I thought I'd try and pronounce some names of teams that I have no chance of being able to pronounce correctly. But let's give it a go, because this week we're going to have a little update from Greece. So this should be funny. It won't surprise anyone to know that Olympiakos are currently top of the Greek Super League. They're not just top, they're smashing it. They're 11 points clear at the top of the table with a plus 28 goal difference. Only one defeat from their 17 matches played. So I think it's fairly safe to say they're probably going to win the Greek League. Goals from Seba and Maniatis with a 2-0 victory over Xanthi in their latest game. Panionios, I think I got that one right. They are currently second. They beat, here we go, Panolitiakos. There we go. Hopefully that, I'm not sure about that, but we'll go with that. They beat them anyway.
Panatolikos, you mean?
That'll do. Thank you very much, Tracy. That's why we pay you the big bucks.
Why I'm here.
So they are second. Xanthi are third, both on 31 points, those two, so tied second. Panathinaikos, I got that one right. They are obviously the big guns. They're fourth at the moment, so somewhat surprising. Having a mixed season. They won 2-1 at the weekend. 2 goals from Marcus Berg, the Swede. Yeah, he's still kicking around, bless him. PAOK Salonika, who, as an Arsenal fan, I have interesting memories of travelling to PAOK back in the early 90s. They are currently fifth in the table at the moment, with AK Athens, another famous old name, in sixth. Reading down the table, you've got Iraklis. That's an interesting name of a club. Bottom, 8 points from the 15 games played, just one win all season and a minus 13 goal difference. Not good for them. Levardakios. Let's go with that.
Levadiakos.
Those ones, those guys there. 13 points from their 17 games played, along with Veria, I can pronounce that one, 13 points as well. And Larissa, I can get that one as well, on 13th. They've only got 15 points. And frankly, the teams in the middle of the table, I'm going to struggle with. So if you're really desperate to know who's in the middle of the Greek table, just go to just Google it. Just Google it. It'll be fine. But nevertheless, it looks like Olympiakos are going to progress into winning this league once again. And it should be stressed as well, PAOK are minus 3 points for a discretion earlier on in the season. Indiscretion, I should say. I'll give you guys both one guess who's top scorer in the Greek Super League.
Brownie Day.
You looked that up, didn't you? Damn you.
There's no way I would have known, obviously.
No.
But
West Brom fans are cursing at the idea of Brownie Day scoring goals. But yes. And do you guys remember Anthony Letalek? Do you remember that name?
I remember the name.
He was at Liverpool.
I was going to say, he had a cup of tea at Liverpool before leaving. He's got 4 goals this season. So he's playing his train in the Greek League as well.
Only 4 goals in the last decade for him, something like that?
Probably about that, yeah. I'm intrigued now, so I've actually bothered to look at his career stats. Actually not horrendous. 68 goals in 322 appearances.
It could be worse.
for Liverpool, he never scored a goal. He played 17 games. So he did get 4 in a spell at Sunderland over 27 games. But yeah, his career was a lot better in France, I think it's fair to say, when he was another up-and-coming player. But alas, it never did work out for him. But yeah, good stuff for the Greek league. And as usual, if you've got a league you particularly want us to talk about, then let us know. We'll do our best to do it. Please don't pick the Nigerian conference because I don't want to bring Danny back out of retirement to talk about these names, but even I struggle with them. So please keep it simple. The Irish league will be fine. I can deal with that one. Not the Welsh though. Thank you. Just quickly, before we leave the best of the worst for this week, we should of course mention Chapecoense, who played their very first match this weekend. After, obviously, we've all talked on this podcast about the horrific events, the plane crash. We've been through the story; everyone's aware of it. But it's their first game as sort of essentially a reformed club, I guess, is what you'd have to call them. Playing with sort of youth players and mixture of young players, and just really was quite amazing scenes when they took to the field. Did you guys see? Is it? I think it's Furman. I think the chap's name is I think he's the reserve keeper, wasn't he, from memory? He came onto the pitch to accept the Sudamericana trophy.
Yeah.
Yes.
In a wheelchair, and he's a partial amputee now, and just really, really amazing scenes, like just genuinely moving scenes. And I think I retweeted a couple of bits and bobs from their Twitter timeline over the weekend. It's just, even now, I think that they've become this sort of almost cult club now, where I think so many people around the world are going to follow their progression with these young kids in place, and see just how much they can rebuild after what was a tragedy. So I think we'd all agree, fair play to them for being able to take another team to the field and play in their memory. So good luck to them, and we wish them all the best on this podcast. Right, okay. We have got time for another inductee into our fabled academy of players to keep a lookout for. So let's put one in, shall we? It's this week's Hipster's Choice. Right, John's licking his lips because this week we're going SerieA via Ivory Coast, if you will, because this young man is a chap playing his trade in Italy, but he's currently away on African Nations Cup duty, and he goes by the name of Franck Kessie. What do we know about Franck Kessie? Well, he plays for Atalanta in Serie A. He wears a 19 shirt. He is an Ivory Coast international, born on December 19th, 1996, which makes him 20 years of age. Sickening, I know. He's a midfield player. He's 6 foot dead and 161 pounds at last count. He's right-footed, and he has an Instagram account. We know that much. Kessie Frank, if you want to follow him. He's not verified, but we're pretty sure it's him. We'll have to do some more digging. So he was born in a small town in the Ivory Coast, and he played with Stade Club in Abidjan, Ivory Coast's largest city, and it was the Ivory Coast was an Ivory Coast international before being recruited to Atalanta on loan in January 2015. He was signed permanently 6 months later for £255,000, but was loaned out to Cesena in Serie B for the 2015-16 season. The loan would prove to be a shrewd one under the guidance of Massimo Drago, who has since been credited with the development of other Italian rising stars such as Bernardeschi, who John of course is madly in love with, as am I. Kessie was converted from a central defender into a midfielder where he flourished over 37 league games, scoring 4 goals and providing 2 assists. And on his return to Atalanta ahead of the 16-17 season, head coach Gianpiero Gasparini was delighted with the teenager's improvement. He said he's a boy who last year in SerieA had an important season. This year when he joined up with us, we immediately saw that he had quality. Kessie had an excellent start to this campaign 2016-17, scoring twice and being named man of the match in a 4-3 home win over Lazio in the opening game of the season. And he's since featured 15 out of 17 of Atalanta's Serie A games, playing 90 minutes in all but one game as a central midfielder in Atalanta's preferred 3-4-2-1 system. Although some people say it's a complex 3-4-3, you can take your pick. He has 5 goals and 1 assist to date, and he's a strong, powerful, athletic individual with the attributes of a potent technical box-to-box player. He's direct and astute pass of the ball, many being dangerous passes and also penetrative to go with it. In the final third of the pitch is where he does most of his damage. As a result, inevitable comparisons to Yaya Toure have been made, although rumour has it he isn't a fan of birthday cakes. If he is employed in deeper roles, he has good positioning and is able to protect the defence from making him a flexible asset to any team. Despite all the positives to his games, Kessie has received 4 yellow cards and was given a straight red in Atalanta's 3-1 victory over Kris for a horrible tackle on Noah Ducene. In a game against Torino earlier this season, Atalanta rewarded a penalty and Kessie stole the ball off of designated penalty striker Alberto Poloski and took the shot himself. Although he scored, it left his manager Gasperini furious and he openly criticised the player's actions. Kessie's made 5 appearances for the Ivory Coast prior to the African Nations Cup. More on that in a second with John. Making his debut at 17, he was still playing his league football in Ivory Coast, but his performances at the 2013 Under-17 World Cup was where he captained his team to the quarter-finals before being knocked out by Argentina, that propelled him into the team at such a young age. With his performances this season, he's attracted a lot of interest from a lot of different clubs, one of which, of course, being Chelsea. Also, Sunderland have been linked with him, but apparently could not get a work permit in the summer. So, that is Franck Kessie. John, this is your opportunity to speak up about a player that you and I have admired from afar for Atalanta's, sterling season, really. They've been really impressive this season. He's exciting, isn't he? And he's doing quite well at the African Nations Cup in terms of appearances as well.
Yeah, he's played the full 90 in both their games so far, and I'm sure people know how good the Ivory Coast team is compared to a lot of the other African nations. Sometimes it doesn't actually achieve as much as it should do for the players they've had. But yeah, for someone so young to get straight in, I think 17, I think he said, he got straight into the national team, which is ridiculous. And last season he was good for Atalanta, but this year he's been absolutely brilliant, and I actually have missed him a little bit since he's gone. Not just his forward work, but his defensive work as well, covering in, because he did previously play centre back. He can slot in there if they need to, and the sort of system they play is quite fluid and he can move about within it. But going forward as well, he's very physically strong. Tayo Papula, I heard on a podcast the other day, said a great thing about Alex Iwobi, which I suppose the same thing can be said of Franck Kessie, is that he has a good African backside to knock into people and knock them down, which I thought was quite a good comment.
I take offence to that.
But yeah, he's just the Sinogo, the Yaya Toure comparison.
Goodness me.
Is a little bit lazy, but I can see elements of it. I don't think he's quite technically as adept as Toure is, but again, he's 20 years old. They're all things he can work on. He's a little bit rash in the challenges sometimes. Again, it's an age thing, but I would expect if he doesn't move in January, obviously being at the African Nations, maybe will stop any deal there. A team maybe will buy him and loan him back to Atalanta until the summer. I can see Chelsea certainly do it. Conte's very, very interested in him. I know there's talk of PSG, Inter Milan are looking at him, Juventus maybe as well. All the big clubs in Italy certainly are. Lots of Premier League teams. So I don't expect to see him in an Atalanta shirt next season. Unless someone is sort of doing the very long game like a Juve tend to do, where they buy a player and then sort of loan him out for 2 years back to his club. But Gasperini is just developing great players there, and he's a serious talent.
Yeah, he is definitely one to watch, and I think we can probably all agree that his time at Atalanta may not be for that much longer if he continues to progress or doesn't get any injuries, of course. So, one that we will certainly keep an eye on moving forwards. Okay, if you have any questions on Frank Kessie, of course, do tweet the podcast account and we'll do our best to answer them. Or if you're a particular fan of the Ivory Coast or if you've seen him play or anything like that, please do share those. And as usual, you can find all of our Hipsters Choices on our website. So just locate the Hipsters Choice tab and you can listen back to the audio. I've even put a little time check on each podcast for you so you don't have to listen to us warble on for hours beforehand. So do give those a listen. Right, we'll finish the show as we always do then with some questions from you, the lovely listeners, and it's this week's Onion Bag. Okie dokie. Just a couple of questions then, gentlemen. Not too many this week, so should be able to round this podcast off nicely. The first one comes in from Bobby, who had his earlier question mentioned, but he's got this one as well. He wants to know, should Man City be worried about Monaco's form since they can't stop scoring? Monaco for the league. Well, I've kind of given my viewpoints on Monaco. I've already said that personally I think they are going to win the league, so I just want a very brief sentence from both of you two. Do you think Monaco can beat Manchester City? And if you do, why? Drew?
Well, I mean, I can't do brief, but I'll try. Yes, the questions with Pep and City in regards to the back four have been going on for the entire season. You just see how disjointed they are at the back. It's not all right there. With the attacking talent that Monaco do have, how quick they can play, how lethal they are in the final third. I think I would not be surprised if Monaco actually progress. And as Arsenal fans, we saw how when push comes to shove, how dangerous they can be when we featured against them in Champions League. Was it 2 years ago? And this Monaco side right now is just so much better. So I think they can, and honestly, I think I would put money on. Actually, I think they will get past City for sure.
Me too. Yes, John, what do you think?
Yeah, I think they've got a real chance. The one thing I would give for City, and Pep might be slightly relieved by this, is that the refereeing in European competition is very different to the Premier League. He hasn't complained about it in the Premier League, but he said, I did not know that you can do these things to goalkeepers. I did not know that you can tackle in this way in the Premier League, which is maybe a little bit naive, and maybe he thought his players would get a bit more protection. He'll get that in the Champions League. So I think he'll feel a little bit more comfortable playing his style of football against Monaco. And, Monaco are very solid at the back, but they do like to go forwards. They are adventurous. And I think for all the problems that City have had in defence, which I don't think will go away for this game, obviously, they are still very good going forwards. And, when you've got someone as good as Kevin De Bruyne, who I think has been amazing in the last couple of games, despite the results they've got, you're always going to have a chance.
Yeah, I think I really do fancy them. I might look really, really stupid, of course, if City blow them away, but they're just on such a hot run.
It's one of those games that could be 3-3 in both legs, or one team could completely blitz the other. It really could go either way.
I think whatever happens, it will be quite entertaining. So do look out for 2 0-0 draws. Now I've said that. Okay, we'll finish with this other question we've had from Tom, who's at 5-star flips. He continues to ask brilliant questions. Keep it coming, Tom. I'll even let off the fact you're a Man United fan. I'm only joking. But no, he asks us some brilliant questions. He did on the English Breakfast last night as well. But this question he asks us guys is, if you each had to pick your favourite Champions League winning 11, which would you pick and why? Now, there's no way we're going to have time.
I've got mine.
I've got mine.
Have you?
Get on the ball, Kris.
Well, in that case, I am crap. I've been hosting, in case you haven't noticed, gentlemen. So, okay, fine. I'll turn it over to you guys then. John, what is your favourite 11 then?
Mine is from the 2003 Champions League final. Milan. Yes, I know I'm an Inter fan. I'm picking Milan. I know it's terrible. But yeah, Nesta, Maldini, two of the best defenders I've ever seen and probably ever will see. Costa Curta, Gattuso, Pirlo playing in Italy, Seedorf, Rui Costa, just a beautiful player. The eternally offside Inzaghi, who just knew how to poach a goal, and Andrei Shevchenko, who gets a lot of stick, certainly in England anyway, for his performances at Chelsea, but when he was at Milan, he was without a doubt one of the best strikers in Europe. Could score every type of goal possible, and yeah, just that team was just absolutely ridiculous. So many good players. Not forgetting that Rivaldo was just casually on the bench there, and of course that final ended the correct way because it was two Italian teams and neither team scored, so it had to be decided on penalties because it was the perfect game of football. So yeah,
that was at Old Trafford, wasn't it? I think.
Yes, that was, and even better, they beat Juventus, which is always nice.
That's always a bonus.
Yeah, I did almost go with the '96 Juve team, just for the fact that it's got Paolo Sousa, Antonio Conte, and Didier Deschamps in midfield. But yeah, just a little shout out to them.
That was the era when they had the big stars on the shoulders of the kit, wasn't it?
Yes, the very nasty kit. But, yeah.
Oh, lovely. Go on then, Drew. Steal the team that I know you're going to steal that I've just thought of that I really liked. Go on.
I don't think it will. It's the 1995 Ajax team.
Okay, you're safe.
And it's like, as much as I've been a Feyenoord supporter, I think when you watch that Ajax team, you see how many iconic players went on in their careers, and they made such waves. Edwin van der Sar, the Boer twins, Clarence Seedorf, Edgar Davids, Jara Littman, and Mark Overmars, Patrick Kluivert, Noan Kanu, who we are also familiar with, as well as Overmars. So you have all these players who left huge marks on in their club career, play for some of the greatest teams in Europe, and also from an international standpoint, the things they achieved. I think that, at that time, Ajax, that team to make the final against Milan, who back in the mid 90s they were tops. It was wonderful to see a young Kluivert come off the bench and get the winner. So that for me is that, and also because apart from being a big fan of German soccer, I've always loved Dutch soccer, and a lot of my boyhood players that I followed were Dutch. So for me, it's also nostalgic in a way. So.
Fair point. Yeah.
Jari Littmanen. Yeah.
Oh, yes. And of course, even back in those days, Kanu was at least 25. Even in those days. And rumour has it he is still 25.
Hey, black don't crack, man. That's how we go.
True that. Okay, I've gone full hipster just because. I'll explain why in a minute. Borussia Dortmund. Oh, I just created a new team. Borussia Dortmund 3, Juventus 1.
That's such a good final. Good call.
97. I've mainly picked this one. I picked it for a few reasons, one of which will be very obvious to, I'm sure, both of you. It's the neon kit, I can't lie. But no, I loved the kit, absolutely. But it was one of the first Champions League finals that, not that I remember watching because it was 97, but it was one that I just remember watching at really great interest, like properly, buying in a couple of drinks and food and plonking myself in front of the TV and taking in the whole experience, whereas a lot of the finals before that I just sort of glanced over. So I do remember it vividly. It was another Juventus kit with stars all over it, John. You'll be happy to remember.
Yeah, I remember that one. Paolo Sousa had also gone from Juve to Dortmund that season, if I remember correctly.
And Delivio was in that side, as was Christian Vieri and Alan Boksic.
Zidane.
Yeah, Sedan. But it's the Dortmund side that I care to remember because it was almost all German. There was only 3 exceptions. Stefan Kloss in goal, Matthias Sammer in the sweeper role. Remember sweeper roles? Wow. With Jürgen Kohler and Martin, is it Kree or Krey? I can never remember how that was pronounced. Stefan Reuter and Jörg Heinrich as the fullbacks, attacking fullbacks. And then they had, as you said, John Palliser and Paul Lambert, that well-known German international. Oh, no, wait, hang on. Scottish international in midfield with Andreas Moller, sort of a deep line.
Oh, man, I loved him.
And then that forward line, Karl-Heinz Rieler and Stefan Schepuisa. Oh, brilliant. And on the bench, Lars Ricken, who you might also remember, and the fabulously named reserve goalkeeper, Wolfgang de Beer. I mean, there isn't a more German name than that, is there, really? You always expected him to pop up in an episode of a Lower Low, and just go, I am Wolfgang de Beer. Yeah, just a wonderful final, wonderful team. And, I mean, that kit, come on. I mean, even if you don't like neon yellow, that was one hell of a kit, wasn't it? So, yeah, that's off the cuff. That's the one I remember. Obviously, the Barcelona sides, the Real Madrid sides have to be given credit, and indeed the Manchester United treble-winning side has to be given a nudge as well. But now, for me, it's always Dortmund. So there you go. Okay, superb question again, Tom. So thank you very much for that, and keep sending them in. But Jesus, man, you need to give us some more heads up when you ask us these awesome questions.
That was excellent.
I need time. But no, thank you, Tom. That's absolutely superb. Right, okay, that will do us for this week then. Thank you very, very much for listening. Just a couple of very quick plugs. As usual, you can follow us at the FH Podcast. We're available on SoundCloud, on YouTube, on iTunes, Stitcher. You can actually listen through our website. You just go onto the podcast individual episodes. You can download or just listen to the little player thingy that goes along the bottom there. You can listen to it on there if you're stuck at work or if work blocks you from downloading other certain things. Not that mine does, honest. So you can do that. You can follow us all individually. We've given our handles out earlier on. Josh, who's part of our English Breakfast crew, he's written an excellent blog on the sort of comparisons between Pep Guardiola and Antonio Conte. That's very much worth a read. That's on our website now under the blogs tab. And finally, for those of you, I know there's at least surely there's one of you that likes talking about French football that listens to this podcast. Oh no, that's just me. Anyway, if you want to learn something and you want to listen to a podcast where a couple of blokes and a lady talk about French football, we've got a treat in store for you. Roughly this time next week, we are recording a French football special. Which was really just purely self-indulgence on my behalf, I have to confess. But myself, French Football Weekly's Rich Allen, and French Football Weekly's Jeremy Smith, and Get French Football News show host Nathan Staples will also be joined by Lana, who I'm sure you all know by now, and we'll just be having a big French lovin'. No croissants or berets involved. So please do tune into that. We'll probably record it one night and release it as a special, probably over the weekend of next week. So look out for that. And hopefully you'll enjoy that. Right. That is it, us done for another week. I will say goodbye to you both, seeing as I didn't introduce you. So thank you, Drew.
Oh, no problem. Good week again.
And thank you, John.
No worries.
We, of course, will return next week. The English Breakfast will have an FA Cup roundup on Sunday, and the podcast regular will return this time next week. So until then, keep it tuned to the Football Hipsters. Enjoy your football. Keep your beard strong and your glasses trendy. And we'll speak to you very soon.